episode of Birds Watch. I'm your host Rida Shah, and with me is the fabulous Hajra Sati. Today, we will be talking about a very important topic that is, I think, close to every woman and man in our society. That is the issue of colorism and the toxic rishta culture in Pakistan. We have amazing panelists with us. I will let Hajra introduce our first guest, and then I'll introduce the next guest, and then we'll move on to the debate.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी। तो आज हमारे पास जो हमने पहले गेस्ट अपने इनवाइट की हैं वो हैं मिस मलीहा हुसैन। वो एक जनरल कंसल्टेंट हैं। उन्होंने ज़्यादातर लीगल एस्पेक्ट्स के ऊपर काम किया हुआ है और उनकी बहुत बड़ा एक किरदार है जो हमारे यहाँ वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट बिल जो आया था उसके ऊपर उन्होंने बहुत लॉबिंग की और आई थिंक वो इनिशियल ड्राफ्टर्स में से भी थी। थैंक यू सो मच मिस मलीहा फॉर जॉइनिंग अस। और हमारे सेकंड गेस्ट रिदा।
Yes, my second guest is Sana Makbool. She is the star of PTV World. She has over 6 years of experience. And I'll tell you what, when I entered PTV 2 years ago, everyone, every single, from producers to desk editors to fellow anchors, everybody was like, Sana is the best news anchor at PTV, and you should follow her and you should learn from her and you should make her your role model. And I did, and I'm so glad I did, because she's an amazing person and an amazing anchor, and everything that about her is amazing. Thank you so much, Sana, for being here with us.
Thank you so much for this kind word, Rida. I certainly do not deserve them, but thank you so much.
No, but it's true. I'm not lying. I swear I'm not.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's begin. Our topic is colorism and the toxic rishta culture. But before we move on to that, I think it is very important to address feminism, what feminism is in Pakistan, the movement and everything like that. Sana, you are a strong advocate of feminism. So I will let you first define feminism and what kind of feminism is incorporated in Pakistan. We're not talking about the world, we're talking about Pakistan specifically. So I'll let you answer that, and then we'll move on to Maliha and ask her what her opinion is about feminism.
Okay, so basically talking specifically about Pakistan and not globally, I think feminism is something which is highly misunderstood in Pakistan. So all over the world, it's misunderstood, but particularly in Pakistan, it's not taken for what it is. If we're going to really just boil it down to try and understand baseline what feminism is, it's basically we're just asking for equality, right? It's asking for equal human rights for both genders. That's what it is. So on a very base level, this is what feminism is all about. And I think what people, especially in Pakistan, don't understand is that when they think about women asking for their rights or feminists speaking up about whatever is wrong in terms of gender discrimination or gender biases or stereotypes that exist, they sort of relate it to the fact that it's somehow against the other gender, when that's not true. This is not about one gender. In fact, feminism is about both genders. They just want equality among all genders, right? That's what it's talking about. It's not against a particular gender. So I think that's one of the things that's very misunderstood, particularly in Pakistan, which is why over here it's not taken as something which is really the need of the hour and something that everybody wants to or should be aiming for. They've taken it as something which is questioning the way things should be, or questioning our cultural or moral values, and also putting it against religious notions that have been in existence for a while, and thinking that somehow feminism is out there to harm the interests of men or harm the interests of other groups, and it is something which is a threat to what we've held as integral in terms of our values and our norms and traditions. And that's highly problematic because it just goes on to further emphasize the fact that's actually making the lives of women a lot harder than it should be. And because of that, the basic rights that women should have and all genders should have are not being given to women and are not being highlighted, because you're taking this whole movement as to be something which it is not. And then it just basically goes on to reinforce how the discrimination or imbalance between the genders exists, and it further reinforces that.
Right, absolutely. Because so you believe it's more about equality than equity, because some people believe that women should be given a higher pedestal or a higher stool to stand on because they have been disadvantaged for a long period of time. So do you believe this is an aspect of feminism in Pakistan?
Right. So basically, the thing is that when you're talking about equality, you're talking in terms of rights, and you're talking in terms of having equal opportunities. It's something similar to when we talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. Then,
Hmm.
there are a lot of people who stand up and say, well, all
All
lives
life.
matter.
Yeah.
Sure, of course. Who's denying that? When we're saying Black Lives Matter, we are in fact saying that all lives matter. That
Hmm.
is what we're saying. The only reason we're talking about Black lives is that because they are not being mattered by the people who should be giving importance to those lives. They are the ones who are suffering. They are the ones who are underprivileged. So, of course, we have to talk about them. That's why we need to
Hmm.
name the movement Black Lives Matter, because they're the ones who are suffering at the moment. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that all lives don't matter, it actually reinforces that. The same thing is there with feminism, that people don't understand that because we are trying to talk about women's rights and the kind of things that are needed for women to have better lives, they think that it's just focusing on that and the rest of the genders are not important. Basically, what feminism is also saying is that all lives matter. They are saying that all genders matter and all genders deserve these equal opportunities. So when we're talking about giving women more space, or are talking about places where we need to see more female representation, or getting higher pays for women, or equal representation in, for example, higher jobs as CEOs, executives, all of that. We're not saying that, okay, you need to give special preference to womankind because of this and this reason. The fact is that we need to give special preference or to womankind, or those privileges that are not there with them, because we need to bring them at the same level as the other genders, and there's an imbalance. So in order to correct that imbalance, we have to give them more representation right now, or more preference, and focus more on that, because unko niche se upar lana hai, right? So
Hmm.
it is basically at the end about equal opportunities and equal rights. So it's
Hmm.
not something which is, I think, contradictory when we're talking about equity or feminism. It is the same thing, because we're trying to achieve that balance. And right now, because the imbalance is on the women's side,
Hmm.
that's where we need to
Right.
focus.
Miss Maliha, your opinion on this matter?
Yes, I think it's about time we start including transgenders
Hmm.
also. We keep talking about men and women and how women are disadvantaged. But if you look at transgenders as compared to women, there is no comparison. Women have been fighting for their rights or struggling for their rights for a very long, at least 100 years now, maybe a little less or close to it in Pakistan also. Uh, but if you look at transgenders, I think we need to include everyone.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I come across, because I work with men, women, and transgenders, uh, I see a lot of men who are not able to exercise their rights, different rights.
Hmm.
So it doesn't, when we look at our society, it doesn't necessarily mean that because we live in a patriarchal society, all men have a higher status. That is not true. Or all women have a lower status and the transgenders even lower. Uh, there are people in every group
Hmm.
that are disadvantaged. So I don't like to look at the divide, because there's so
Hmm.
many divides, the divide between the rich and the poor, the divide between the educated and the uneducated. uh, Sexes is one of them, one of the so many divides that we have, because of which people get discriminated. What about different religions? So looking at all human beings as equal, treating them the same, giving them the basic uh, respect, and then making sure that everyone has equal rights. They do have equal rights. Do they have the ability or the opportunities to exercise those rights? Where are the
Hmm.
gaps? How do we fill in those gaps? Whenever we talk to people, uh, not looking at them as rich or poor, educated, uneducated, Muslims or Hindus or Christians, or whichever religion, just look at them as, because we're all human beings first.
Yeah.
Why do we have to continue dividing them into groups?
Hmm. Hmm.
Whoever you are working with, make sure that they are all treated with respect.
Hmm.
They are all able to exercise their rights,
Hmm.
and they can all live their lives in a respectful, harassment-free, dignified manner.
Hmm.
That is what I think now. And I see uh, people just so torn in so many little pockets that I very strongly feel that it's high time we start looking at all human beings as the same.
So
A
Definitely.
you
man,
I would,
associate.
like to compliment Miss Maliha here. And Rida, do you remember when we were doing bachelors and we saw a definition of feminism that says that it has evolved and it has incorporated all the people. Feminism means taking care of women, marginalized communities, transgenders, LGBTQ, even the rights of animals, even the rights of Mother Nature, because we have a really strong hand in destroying our ecology here. So that means आपकी comprehensive definition हो गई है feminism की जब हम बात करते हैं. Now coming to the Rishta culture, and I would like to throw this question to both of our panelists. Do you think that in somehow in our society or in a South Asian society as a whole, the Rishta culture, अब जो एक individual की self respect है, self worth है, उसको degrade करने में इसका किरदार है हमारी society में? Miss Maliha first.
yes, I think this is a culture that we really need to change because it creates so many problems for our young boys and girls, transgenders in a different way, but also for their parents and their grandparents. If a girl or a boy says that, I'm not interested in getting married, or I'm not interested in getting married for another 5 years, do you have any idea what the parents go through?
Hell.
And then they start creating stories around. They say, oh, पता है उसका बेटा क्यों नहीं शादी करना चाहता, ये पता है उसकी बेटी की असल में बात ये है. So a lot of pressure on the parents, and instead of the parents actually also start uh, looking at the situation. They need to, they bring their children into this world. It's their responsibility to raise them right and to protect them from any harm, make their home a safe space. So if there's something that the children want to do, the parents need them. If you don't agree with your children, have a discussion around it. Uh, come to terms with what is it that we need to do internally in your family, and then the family needs to take a stand. Somebody comes and says, oh, इतना बड़ा हो गया बेटा अभी शादी नहीं की, तो the parents need to say कि भाई जब मर्जी होगी करेगा. So once the parents say that with a lot of confidence and with that strength, just because he's a certain age, he doesn't have to get married for whatever reasons. He doesn't want to. एक दफा जब आप जवाब दे दो, तो then people sort of back off a little bit. So I think families need to talk about these things, and they need to come to terms with whatever it is that the daughters and sons want to do, or their trans children. So girls or boys alone cannot change this culture. I think we all need to join hands, and this is a culture that has to change. It
Right, Sana? This is indeed a culture that has to change. And I think this, for us, it has changed already, because I can say Hajra, me, and Sana, our first priority is not getting married right now. Our first priority is to getting ourselves established and then move on to the marriage. So, Sana, what do you think are the implications for women who reject getting married? Do you think your family is supportive in that regard?
Okay, so Rita, basically, I have reached that age where my fate has been decided for me. I've crossed the 30 mark, and now it's like, oh, she's too old for it now. Like, she's gone past that age where she was an eligible person to be married. And I don't think I personally feel a lot of that pressure. But I do get my mom she knows that she can't really put that pressure on me to get married, and that we've had this discussion where, I've told her I'll do it when I'm ready or whatever, or when, there is somebody in mind that I want to. So that's fine. There's nothing like that, which I know a lot of other girls face. A lot of my friends have faced from their own parents. So I don't have that. But I know the kind of things that Ma'am Maliha was just talking about earlier, also saying that the parents themselves go through a lot of pressure. That's there. There's always that thing about what people are saying, which is so unfortunate, that there's so much importance given to what people are going to be talking about. And, she always thinks like, oh, for this particular reason or that reason, they're just going to say, okay, like, मैंने क्यों नहीं करवाया या मैंने क्यों नहीं कुछ किया, why am I not pushing my daughter to get married to someone, or why am I not looking for something behind that or not. And I just feel like, that is something which is extremely important, that parents do definitely need to give that sort of confidence to their children and have those honest relationships, where this whole thought process of being incomplete without getting married changes. We just have, I feel personally, we just have two options here: to either get married by somebody that we've chosen ourselves, or get married to somebody that perhaps our parents or family have chosen for us. And there's no third option. There's no option of not getting married. You can't tick that box. That's not even there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes if I tell my mom that, okay, what, there's a possibility, maybe I won't get married, and, that's something that's there, and she doesn't get it. And I know that a lot of people don't understand it. It's considered a failure. It's considered as something that's going to be missing for your entire life, and that you won't be complete in. And I think that definitely it has huge implications on how you identify with yourself, how you deal with the society, how you're treated by other people around you as well, because they're not looking at you as a complete person. And they're just thinking that, okay, since you're not married and you're single and you're past a certain age, there's something missing. And it's so sad that for especially for women who are more career oriented, even if they're achieving something which is quite remarkable in terms of their professional lives, that doesn't matter still if they are not married. That won't be considered something great or amazing, or they won't have that the way that they're looked at socially, that social mark in them, if they're single and if they're not married. And the society won't really consider them on that level just because of their marital status. And I think that is really unfortunate, and that puts hindrances on all sorts of levels in the way that you interact socially or professionally.
Yes, definitely.
May I add something?
Sure,
Yeah.
To what Sana was saying, I always talk to girls about them having that understanding that they are complete human beings. A lot of girls need to realize that they are not incomplete without a man. They are complete human beings. If they find somebody who either love or like to be around, or who adds something to their life, it's perfectly fine to be with that person. But if there is no one around, they should not feel that I'm incomplete. If they're working, considering themselves to be beneath men, because we live in a patriarchal society and that's how we've been socialized. So they actually
relationship, and trying to actually save what we have instead of just like blowing it out of proportion. That's also something which I think brings a lot of problems in.
Yeah, so what we were talking about before is that women are told that they will be incomplete if they don't get married, and their professional life is not prioritized. मतलब they're not considered successful until they're married. तो मतलब जो मैंने फील किया है ना, फैमिलीज तो एक तरफ ना, फैमिली को आप फिर भी डील कर सकते हो, अपनी मामा को आप फिर भी कह सकते हो मामा यार बस कर दे and everything like that. But the thing I felt that at PTV, some of my colleagues got married. Okay, so everybody was coming up to me and said, oh, look, she's married. What do you think? When will you get married? Marriage is very important. And, this unsolicited advice from others. And then there were a lot of women who were telling me, Ki, dekho, you will regret it. I was the one who chose my career, and today I regret my decision because I'm all alone. And this important, these careers, after 10 years, nobody will even look at you. So
the funny thing, The funny thing is, Rida, that even people in unsuccessful, unhappy marriages will tell you to get married.
Yes.
Exactly.
Very
That's
weird.
the thing that we want to talk about. Why do you think this is so? I mean, I really want to understand this kind of a concept behind people saying these kind of things.
I guess they feel that if we are miserable, why are they so happy? Doing what they're spending their life the way they want to. They want you to be miserable also. No, I'm just kidding. Nay, nay, um, I think it's very important to figure out, for all of us, no matter where we are age-wise, for us to figure out who we are as people, especially women, but also men and transgenders, because living in a patriarchal system, it simply realized that we are complete human beings. We all are equal human beings, getting to know ourselves, getting to know our strengths,
Yeah.
doing what we like to do. But in order to do what we like to do, we have to know what is it that we like.
Mm,
Mm.
mm,
Things, when you start doing something and you lose track of time,
mm,
Mm.
you realize, oh, I didn't realize I'm so passionate about this. I really like doing this.
Mm.
And then spend more time doing whatever it is that you like to do. Uh, develop talent. If it's a skill, develop it. Do more of it, because that is something you naturally have. You need to work on it. Do what makes you happy. Yes,
Mm.
taking care of people around us is also important, but
Yeah.
you only get one life to live. So it's
Mm.
important to live your life the best possible way you can.
mm, mm,
Mm.
Uh,
mm.
uh,
Absolutely.
so for
Definitely.
boys and girls and transgender, there is no difference. Human beings first.
Mm,
The
Mm.
truth is within, the concept of anal haq.
mm,
How do you
Mm.
find that truth? Get in touch with yourself.
mm,
Spend some time with yourself.
mm,
Sometimes people feel that, oh, I'm all by myself and I'm alone, as if that's something bad or wrong.
Yeah.
It's important to spend time with yourself, get to know yourself.
mm, mm,
A lot of people actually spend their whole lives without knowing who they actually are.
mm,
Mm. I
mm.
think
And
I am one of those people. I really don't know who I am. I'm so confused
So,
about a lot of
you were talking earlier about this, we face so many hindrances in terms of what we've actually been taught over time and what we've actually been conditioned towards the fact that what, especially as women, that we are the ones who are supposed to be playing certain roles and giving more, and because of that, whatever we do in terms of focusing on ourselves, when we're trying to take care of ourselves or figuring ourselves out, is considered as selfish behavior or something which is not right, something we shouldn't be doing. And so because of that, we personally also feel guilt and feel like, okay, maybe this is not something that we're doing great. I myself have felt that, even though I know about it, and you know how much of an advocate I am of talking about these things and everything. But then personally also, in terms of actually trying to overcome these things, it's extremely difficult. It's so hard to unlearn and relearn, and to
Mhm.
actually not feel those negative emotions when you're doing something which is right and which is good for you, and which in fact is good for everyone, because once you've done that and dealt with your inner self, it's so much better in terms of your relationships with the rest of the world, and especially in terms of your close relationships. And because of that, you're able to do things in a much more better and sustainable way than otherwise, and which is beneficial for both you and the other person.
So
Mhm.
Sana, I
Mhm.
would because I think all our viewers would be curious that how do you deal with that guilt? Like, do you talk to yourself? What helped you in accepting this, that this is the right thing to do, and I won't let the society or my parents or my peers guilt me into adopting a role that they think is right for women?
Okay, so I think personally, I think it's something to push through. I think that's what I've done. Like, because I felt that this is what I need to do, and because I think most importantly, I was, I think, able to connect the dots and basically see that, okay, if I don't do this, this comes crashing down, and then that comes crashing down, and then that comes crashing down, and then everything that is interrelated is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And the root cause of all of it is this. And this is what I need to work on, and then everything else should be able to fall in place. And it's extremely hard to push through that negative thing when you're trying to do something which you think is personally is wrong, but you know is right. And then you just, I think I just forced myself to do those things and take little steps, and day by day it became easier. And I think that people sort of, once you're, because I was very different before. I think quite that typical role that, you know, is expected of a woman, where I wasn't taking care of myself at all, and I was just, you know, being there for other people, and I've always prioritized other people and not myself. And changing that both personally and professionally was very difficult, because people were used to me being that girl who just says yes. So taking a no from me was very hard for people also, and for myself also, to say it. And then they were not used to it, and then I was obviously given, you know, or I was told that, you know, this is not right, or that you're just being, you know, rigid, or you're just not flexible, and, you know, you're arrogant, or all of those things. You know, when people like are not used to a certain way, then they just tell you that this is not how you should behave, because obviously it wasn't in their best interest. But then I think over time now my behavior has changed, and I think then eventually people also readjust to who you are then eventually. And because of that, I think over time it works. But I think nothing actually happens without some sort of consistency, without actually making that effort over and over again. And without that consistency, it basically, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And my
So
mom used to
basically, pushing through and a lot of contemplation made you this person who knows right from wrong and does not let the society define it for herself.
No, it's actually a continuous struggle. I wouldn't say that it's something that I've done and just gotten over it, and now I'm at that level where I don't have to deal with these things anymore. It's constant. It's like every other day. It's all kinds of struggle that you're facing, and you just keep pushing through, keep fighting for it. And then I think that's how it works. I don't think there's any point where I'll be able to say, okay, I'm done with it, because the kind of change we want is on a much larger level for everybody to be able to perceive it that way. But I think if agar personally we kar lo on an individual level, that's great. And then eventually, if everyone does it, it would really help.
Acha, so
See,
I
and
was
paving
discussing
the
this
way
thing
for
with,
others.
हाँ,
Sure.
I was discussing this thing, I think, with Rida too, and I was going through the academic process because I'm enrolled in master's program too, and I was looking at a theory called the ethics of care. Basically, feminist theory है, जिसमें उन्होंने ये बात की है कि, you know, care is a work which is associated with the women a lot because they are caring for their families, they're caring for their husbands, children, and whatnot, right? So they say कि a lot of time that care is very exploitive. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
you are.
okay. So और उसमें फिर ये बात भी mention की गई कि sometimes it happens that there's a daughter-in-law and she does not want to take care of you know, in-laws, and you know, then there are social norms, you know, that force her, you know, that you have to do it, and then you, if you don't do it, then you are very, you know, selfish and you're very guilty person. So you know, they say that there should be some ethics in caring. तो आपको फील होता है कि कहीं ना कहीं हमारे पेरेंट्स भी बहुत एक्सप्लॉइटिव होते हैं इन अ सेंस, बिकॉज आई नो लॉट ऑफ वुमेन आउट देयर जिनकी मदर्स उनको ये कहती हैं कि अच्छा तुम्हारे रिश्ते नहीं आ रहे इफ यू यू नो क्रॉस द एज ऑफ 25, so you have some defect, you know, and then they're structured in this way, and you know, no matter how much successful as a professional that woman is, you know, she starts to bear that result कि यार अच्छा मेरे अंदर कोई, you know, उसकी self respect, you know, कम होना शुरू हो जाती है. Do you think, you know, कि हमारे पेरेंट्स को भी कहीं ना कहीं एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आती है कि हमें इस तरह से बात नहीं करनी चाहिए अपनी बेटी के लिए, बिकॉज यू नो दिस डज हैपन इन सोसाइटी. I know it does. Anyone can answer that. Anyone can answer that. I mean.
अच्छा, हाँ बिल्कुल. हाँ, representing parents here or that age group, I think it is very important for parents to realize that. And I think, I don't remember if we were informally talking about this or when the program started, but I think parents need to protect their children. Try and understand what is it that the children want to do with their lives. Have those sensations, and then support them in whatever it is that they want to do, irrespective of what the society's expectations are, because we only get like one life to live. And it's important that we live our lives the way we want to.
But
It
Maliha,
should not be dictated by other people what I do with my life.
okay, that is great because Maliha, we know theoretically and in an idealistic world there should be. People should have the liberty to lead their own lives and everything like that. But in a realistic society, our generation, our parents' generation, they care about what other people say. So, what do you think is the solution? How can we sensitize our parents to know, to realize this? That okay, there is a world other than marriage. There is a whole world out there that is hiding, that you have to explore. So how do you think this kind of sensitivity can be inculcated in generation's mind that is at a
It
certain age?
takes a lot of hard work. And
Yeah.
you know, the things that I'm saying, uh,
Hmm.
I'm all saying, like I'm saying all of this from my experience, from my life. Now, I won't name any names, but people around me, including myself. This is what I have learned from those around me, whether they are children or whether they are my friends or extended family. But this is how I have changed over the years. Because, you know, there has to be a difference between animals and human beings. Human beings have a mind, they can think, they can, look at different things and analyze them and figure out, you know, what is right, what is wrong, what is it that I want to do, why do I have to do things the way everyone else is doing. And the purpose of life should not be getting married and having children.
Hmm.
Life is much more than that. We are way more than that. Animals do that, for God's sakes. You know, that is what they do. They get together, they have children. Then they get together, they have children. So we have to be better than animals, right?
Hmm.
So you add another step of getting married, something animals don't do, or not to this extent. Uh, but life is a lot more than that.
Hmm.
And talking to your parents, start talking to them. Your parents are also very intelligent people.
Yeah.
Start sharing stories of your friends with them.
Hmm.
You know, what happened to somebody who ended up getting married to some person who was not right for him or her, how their
Hmm.
lives become so difficult. Start sharing those, or somebody who's not married, and look how accomplished he or she is. Because it's
But
not
Maliha,
only
again,
girls.
we live
Yeah.
in a social media society where we present the best picture to everyone. Like all my friends, I think 99% of my friends are married right now. And my mother
Yeah.
always says, look, she's so happy. Look at her picture. She looks so happy and everything like that. And nobody is
I
really
know.
comfortable sharing the bad sides of their lives because we live in a
Yes.
world where we have to show all the glitters and everything that glows.
Yeah.
So how do you
Yes.
think we can convince our parents? Yeah, sure, Sana, do you have something to say?
No, yeah, I was just going to also say is that even I think I feel like it's quite hard in terms of the fact that even when you present examples of something which has gone wrong in a marriage, or examples of, oh, you know, this is what happened if we did this, or if we rushed into it, or we didn't like actually thought about it going into something before we were ready, or whatever. I think a lot of that has also um, uh, uh, the kind of response that you get to that is also considered as the women's fault. I don't know if it's just me
Yeah.
who's experienced that, but a lot of it, I think people when they're given, like, for example, if I've also given somebody like statistics regarding divorce or people in unhappy marriages because they haven't married for the right reasons, they haven't figured out what they really want as well. um, I think the response that I just get is that, okay, women are not that compromising anymore, or that
Mhm.
girls just don't really want to play that role anymore, and they're not, you know, willing to make that effort in a marriage anymore. And I just find that so strange because I think stereotypical roles are played, that can survive. And because the woman is not now agreeing to playing those roles, this is why all of that is happening, when that should
Do
Yeah.
be
you
true
know,
at all.
a lot of mothers also get blamed if the daughter goes through a divorce. So
Mm.
they blame
Yes.
the girl and they blame the girl's mother. And the reason behind that is again the patriarchal, the hierarchy. Women, because she's supposed to have a lower status in the society, she gets blamed for everything that goes wrong.
Yeah.
So it's like, she didn't raise her daughter right. That's why she ended up in a divorce,
And
which is
this
very
also,
wrong.
absolutely, and this also discourages the fact that I feel there's also this perception that the more that you're educated, or the more that you're independent, or the more that you're actually vocal about your needs and your rights and your wants, the harder it is for you to get married.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
fact is that now
Which
you
is
won't be
not
that
true.
compromising anymore. You will not find a man that likes men don't like
Yeah.
women who talk that much, stuff like that.
I know.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I think we
Okay,
need to start talking about these things more
Sure.
with
Yes.
everyone, within our families, with our parents, with our friends, even on social media. The more
Yeah.
we talk about it, because these are not only girls, young men go through these. Look at young transgenders, the sort of problems they face. So we all need to join in and start talking about these things.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, collectively we can come up with solutions.
Yeah, because debating
Share
actually
good
makes you
examples.
sensitive to these problems. Like you mentioned that, okay, what about the relationship that transgenders have? I didn't even think about it unless Maliha, you mentioned it. So now this is something that I will consciously think about. So I think debating about these things is the first step that we can play in that. But
Right.
before we
Absolutely.
end our segment, we did not address the colorism aspect of this. Okay, the fact
Right.
that fair complexion is associated with beauty, and dark complexion is associated with ugliness, and this is something that is being talked about, and we have seen that Fair and Lovely is now Glow and Lovely. So I think this is the first step that is taken in this regard. So Maliha and Sana, individually, I would like to ask you that, do you think we're headed towards the right direction in order to address colorism, or do you think it's just so deep rooted that it is something that can never be addressed and never be solved?
Sana, would you like to go
No,
first,
you
or
can
do you
start.
want me to?
You can start.
Acha. See, skin color has to do with where do you live. People living in cold climates have a different skin color as compared to people living like close to the equator where it's very hot and they end up being in the sun.
Yeah.
So just because in South Asia, the Brahmins first came in from or came down from Central Asia, they were light colored people. The local people in the combined Indo-Pak subcontinent, especially in the southern regions, which are closer to the hotter climate, the skin color was dark. So I won't go into a lot of detail, but people coming from the north placed themselves above the local people, and they said that we are the highest caste, and then the lowest caste was the local people. They created that divide between light and dark colored skin. Then we were unfortunately ruled by the British for a very long time. They had lighter skin. So we, people who belong to this land, started considering light-skinned people as superior people. Even in Pakistan, if you look at our country, people who come from the northern areas have fair skin. If you go towards the southern part of Pakistan, since people living in the desert, people living in hotter climates, they have dark skin. So again, something that we need to start talking about when somebody, like when a family starts looking for a girl for their son to marry, they look for a fair-skinned girl, not realizing what it actually means. Why do we consider white color, light colored skin to be better? This has nothing to do, a light colored skin, whatever, light skin colored
Colored
person can be a very mean person.
Sure.
Yeah.
somebody with a darker, because there is no correlation between these two. What sort of a person you are and what is the color of your skin. There is no correlation. Are you a good human being or are you not so good human being has nothing to do with your skin color. So these are again things that we need to start talking about. The more we talk about it, you know, human beings are very intelligent. We've been treated as herds of animals, and we get into that mode very easily because we teach our children compliance. Somebody who complies, a child who complies is a good child. It's somebody who questions or who does things differently the way they want to, वो हम कहते हैं बदतमीज बच्चा, कहना नहीं मानता, बात नहीं सुनता. So, you know, we are conditioned to become compliant. So we do what we are told to do. We say what we hear other people say. We don't use our brains.
Yeah.
So the more we start talking on these topics, I think people's mindset will change. We push people to think about it, and they will change their thinking. They just haven't thought about these things before. And I know that globally there are other people who are talking about it, but in Pakistani society, in our context, very important that we talk about it, because otherwise people will be finding wives for their sons all coming from the northern areas where they're light skinned.
Yeah.
Which is not
That
fair. Which is
discussion
not
is
fair.
very important, and
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
Yeah.
the color of your skin does not determine the character.
Exactly.
And
No, it
Sana,
doesn't.
last words on it.
Yeah, so basically what I wanted to say was that the fact that something that is just boiling down to basically the way that you look or what your appearance is or what you're naturally born with, to be a very major consideration when you're marrying somebody or marrying off your daughter or your son is so ridiculous, and it's so unfortunate that even in the
Yeah.
current times we're thinking about it in these terms. The fact that, personally, I genuinely just feel that beyond the fact that you find someone or something attractive or not, the rest of looking at in terms of a person's appearance as something that you need to first consider before you consider what you want out of the marriage is so ridiculous to me, because eventually, things change. Eventually you age or your beauty dies down, but the concept, the emphasis on somebody that they look is so much when we're considering marriage, or when parents are considering marrying off their daughters or sons to somebody. And it just also, I think, comes down to the fact that at the end of the day, this is not what marriage is about. Nobody's focusing on what a marriage really needs to be able for it to survive, to nourish it, to strengthen it. Nobody's talking about what goes into getting a good relationship, or the effort that continuously evolves. If you're planning to stay in a marriage with somebody for so long, you're changing as a person, the other person's changing as a person, then if you're bringing more people into the world together, how are you going to raise them? And there's so much that you need to actually know and talk about and consider when you're entering into this partnership with someone, that the fact that how a person looks or what their skin color is seems so absurd when you look at it in these terms, when you look at what it is about, because you're not looking at what marriage is about. You're focusing on things which don't need to be focused on. Generally, colorism is a problem, but specific relation to marriage, I think this is what essentially is also something that we need to talk about. And like the Fair and Lovely thing that you mentioned, the fact is that बहुत सारे उनके जो ads थे, they were focusing on, how when the woman does change her skin color because of using their product, then the man likes her and she gets the man. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
That's the goal. That's the objective that you want to achieve. No one talks about what goes on after that, or the fact that how is that something to just solve all your problems in your life because you've gotten the man. And that too by focusing so much on your skin color. And there's so many girls in our community, especially in the rural areas, also in the urban areas, who actually make so much effort, make their life's
Mhm.
mission to actually be that presentable girl that everybody wants to get married. That typical, stereotypical thing that is going to be the one who succeeds in getting that man, and the one that the finger at and get.
It's
And
so
that sort of
unfortunate.
ideology is so unfortunate. You're right.
It is indeed
Very is.
unfortunate, but the thing is that this kind of discussions, I think, is a step towards sensitizing people that these things really don't matter. And if you're fair, that doesn't mean you'll get the fairy tale that you deserve, or you have to be a decent human being. And like,
And it's got nothing to do with beauty. In fact, there's so many beautiful people of all
that's it.
skin colors.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so unfortunate.
Yeah,
But like Maliha
absolutely.
mentioned, that human agent, and with time, if we start talking about these things, this kind of mindset will be incorporated in them. Okay, so the thing is that
Yes.
you don't have to be fair. The beauty does not lie just in the physical aspect of it. You as a person really matter. So the thing is that Hajra's battery is running out. So we will be leaving today's session. Thank you so much, Maliha Hussain, for taking time out. Thank you so much, Sana, for being
Thank
a
you.
part of this. I
Thank
know
you for
you two
having me.
are very beautiful, busy, and taking time out to be part of this program means a lot to Hajra and I. So, Hajra, do you want to say
Definitely.
something?
It was a pleasure.
And we got some really important talking points. Number one, that your beauty is skin deep. Okay, do not look at the skin of the color and determine that how beautiful or how good that person is. And secondly, we need, जिस तरह रिदा ने बात की, we need to have such kind of discussions. जब हम कहते हैं कि ड्राइंग रूम डिस्कशंस होनी चाहिए, इन टॉपिक्स की हमें बात करनी चाहिए, स्पेशली अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ, because there comes a sort of a rigidity in this age and we are not open to such kind of discussions. तो आप बात करें इस बारे में, उनके साथ बैठ के बात करें and try to start a discussion. I think it will lead to somewhere in future, or we will get a more representative society and more maybe sensitized society, a tolerant society. With this, at the end of the episode, we are saying goodbye to everyone. और thank you so much. हमारे जो guest आए थे उन्होंने हमें join किया और बहुत ही एक अच्छी discussion हुई. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Bye.
It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye. It was a really nice discussion.